and Hennessey. Thank you so much for being on the Woo Report. So happy you're
Yeah.
here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
I came across one of your videos where you talked about how your near death experience felt extremely expansive to you. And the way that you described it, I had never heard it described. And as you may know, I had a near death experience as well. And I watched that video of you 100 times explaining how expensive it was, and I was just like, oh, this resonates so much with me. So I would love to hear about your experience and how it expanded you. Please, let's get into all the details.
I've always been fascinated with the idea of dying and death since I was a kid. My first real experience with death, and I'm just giving some backstory here so you kind of see where I'm coming from. My first experience with death, I was in the second grade, and my grandfather passed away, and I basically witnessed it sort of from a distance. And it was really weird because I felt the transition. I sort of saw something, you
Mm-hmm.
know, we'll call it a soul, maybe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know, I didn't have these words when I was a young kid. Um, and then I witnessed everybody around me change, just this dark cloud, like sadness. You're mourning a loved one, but I didn't have that response. And it's funny because my sister was bawling, crying, and I was just like, "What is everybody so sad about?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it." And I'm in the second grade, so it's not like I'm a super little kid. I was pretty aware of certain things and whatever. So that was my first experience with it, and it made me. I was basically taught to be sad about it, right? And then life goes on, and you do other things, and blah blah blah. So you start to develop this. The way beliefs work they're just thoughts that we keep repeating over and over and over and over and over again. And then you're 18, 20, 25, 30, and you go, this is the way life is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really just a thought that you've had. It's really, and if somebody comes in with a better thought that you latch onto for whatever reason, now you think the world is like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the only thing that will ever truly shift your experience, and this is important for the discussion we'll probably have, is words can't teach you. It doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how many speakers you go see speak. And all of these things are great. I've read all the books. I've bought so many courses. I've hired so many coaches in my life for various things. Those are all great things to do. But what it comes down to is your true, real life, authentic experience that is undoubtable to your heart. The things that you were really there to witness,
Mm-hmm.
not somebody's version of it. I always tell clients, I can give you a bunch of pamphlets about sex, and we can talk about sex all day, right? But until you're in between the sheets doing your thing,
Mm-hmm.
you really don't know what that's about.
Totally.
You really don't.
Yeah.
And that is the beauty of physical human experience. We're living in this dream world. This is like a virtual reality, first player, immersive adventure game, dream, and we get to choose all of these different things. And what death does, and I think why a lot of people now, because there's so many near death experiencers, it's been an explosion over the last 20 years
Mm-hmm.
of, or at least maybe people feeling comfortable to report them, um, where we're starting to wake up beyond the illusion of that framework, because all fears, every single fear you've ever had and that anybody's ever had that's ever been alive as a human being, is based on this fundamental fear of death. And once you get a glimpse of something different than that, once you see the magic trick, then you're like, oh, he didn't really pull the rabbit out of nowhere. It was planned, right? It's an illusion. Now I see the illusion, so I have a different thing. I could still respect that magician. Wow, he really pulled that trick off really well. But you have more context. So it's like we're getting this glimpse, and people are spreading the word. They're writing about it. They're doing podcasts about it. They're all
Mm-hmm.
these different things. There's conferences being held about it. There's people that are dedicating scientific research to this, and they're all coming to the same conclusion. There is no such thing as death. And if you can, of course, you can get that on an intellectual level. Most people can do that. But if you can practice feeling that, and here's the interesting thing is, everybody's already had a near-death experience. There's not one person on the planet that hasn't experienced it. They just don't necessarily remember it. It's kind of like the same way we all dream, but not every night you remember your dreams. It's not everybody's journey or path to understand that. Another way of saying that is, fear is a part of people's journey and a part of the equation because they're here for a certain theme that they chose from the soul perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's like playing a video game. Like, say your favorite game is a game where you have to shoot people. and you love this game and you get the new one every year. Well, if they removed the death factor out of that game, there'd be no point to it. You wouldn't like that game anymore. So certain souls have signed up to really feel that experience. The beautiful thing is, if you don't experience it firsthand, you might experience a loved one passing away, and that could awaken you too. So the universe is so magnificent and beautiful and perfect and beyond our conceptual understanding that all of these different infinite possibilities can be playing out simultaneously, which they are, and science is now showing us through quantum mechanics and quantum physics, which I'm sure we'll get into at
Oh
some
my
point.
gosh, yes. Send help on that.
Well, basically, what they're showing us is that the world that you grew up in, that you were taught from ages 0 to 20 at school, is not real. These are certain threads. They're a part of the mixture, but they're not the entirety. In other words, there's way more to the story. There's way more to the story.
Yes.
And whatever you focus on, this might be the theme of this talk. Whatever you focus on becomes true for you. This is why half the country can vote for this person, half the vote can. This is why people want to go to war and some people want peace. This is why some people are racist and some people are not. This is why some people are in great shape and some. It's all about what you truly believe to be true, not what you try to convince other people you think is true. Right? There's a lot of convincing. Trying to just go to the comments section of any
For
of any
sure.
internet. Everybody's trying to prove. And if you truly knew something, here's another add-on. If you truly knew something, would you even have to argue it? And the answer would be no.
Right.
And you don't argue, like, if my name is Dan, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that. You're like, no, your name's Bill.
Yeah, right.
Okay. If that's what you want it to be, like,
Right.
yeah, I don't care.
If you and you're
And
what
then
you're saying is like if you're truly grounded in your belief that your name is Dan. Cuz I feel like there's like a lot of arguing going on, but people are really are trying to convince others, but walk me through that.
the simplest way to explain this is who cares?
Yeah, right.
You think the Earth is flat. I think the Earth is
Yeah.
round. Somebody else thinks the Earth is a triangle.
Yep.
Who cares? Who cares? What's for lunch?
Yeah.
You know? Who cares? You know?
Yeah.
You think this is the best president? You think this is the worst president? You think the world is ending?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
Especially when it comes. Since I was born, my birthday's coming up in a few months. I'm turning 38. Since I was born, the world has been ending for one reason or another.
It's true.
World War III, Y2K, 9/11, 2008 market collapse, blah 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 blah. This pandemic, that pandemic, and yet I'm still here.
Right.
And life goes on. And in fact, it's the best it's ever been. If you truly dig into statistics and science, which I like to do as a fun game,
Yes.
most people take it way too seriously because again, you're creating the truth, right? And this was proven actually in 2022. There was a Nobel Prize given out to show that the universe is not locally real. And this ties back into quantum physics and mechanics. The universe is not locally real, is what the headline title is of the Nobel Prize in 2022. What that means is what we're doing right now is not real in the sense that it has definitive properties that are consistent. So we're living in a literal simulation slash dream slash illusion. And every ancient culture, every religion that goes back at least a couple hundred years talks about this.
Mm-hmm.
They're all saying the same thing, including great philosophers, including Albert Einstein, including Max Planck, pick your favorite genre of whatever. And if you dig deep enough into what they're truly saying, sometimes off the record, because at the time they weren't allowed to,
Right.
here it is. Here's the whole universe in a couple of sentences. You exist eternally, forever. There's no getting around that. Since you're here, since you exist, everything that exists already exists, and it will always exist. That's the nature of eternality. Two is everything is here and now. Everything, all the things that are possible to be things are here and now. There's only one moment, and it's called now, which is actually not a measurement of time, but a description of eternality. Everything has to be here and now in order for you to have any kind of experience. And we get to choose and select how we want to play that game. But
Well,
there's a couple more things if you want to get to
well,
it.
the eternality part. There's obviously beliefs that when we die and our body is no longer here, that's the end.
Sure,
People believe that.
sure.
And so what you're saying is that's not true.
Well, it's one version of reality that you make true through your belief.
That you make true.
But remember, you can't spell the word belief without Lie. All beliefs are lies. Or better said, they're a piece of the truth. They're your own personal reality. You have your own personal reality. Right now, you're seeing a blue chair behind me, but we're not seeing or experiencing the same exact chair actually.
Yes.
Your blue's a little different than my blue.
Yes.
I get to actually feel it and touch it, and
Right.
you just have a perception. So you're never actually, and me and my wife talk about this all the time. We've been together for going on 20 years. Next year it'll be 20 years through dating and stuff like that. And we're next to each other like 24/7. And yet we still get a totally different representation of reality, even from just hearing a song. I miss a lyric, or she gets a different meaning out of it, or this or that. So we've been taught that we need to go around and understand everybody and put yourself in their shoes and try to empathize. This is all leading to the conflict that we find ourselves in.
Yes.
You will never know what it's like. My wife is a Haitian woman born in Haiti. I will never know what it's like to be a woman. Even if I get a sex change, a version of a woman that was born as a woman, I will never get that experience in this body. I will never know what it's like to have black skin or be from a different country or any of those kinds of things. And it's silly for me to attempt to even think that I could.
Right.
It's almost disrespectful. And that goes the same for you, or the stranger on the street, or the president, or the terrorist, or the murderer, or the rapist, or the things that you don't like. And yet, it's all, this is the third thing I was going to get to. The all is in the one, and the one is in the all. The all, let's call that God, the all of it, which we can't even really describe, is actually contained in every single molecule, atom, subatomic particle. The whole entire universe is inside of you. So what you think God is you actually experiencing itself as an individuation, as a separate entity, as a something with perspective, so that experience can play out.
Oh my gosh. I'm so obsessed with all of this,
Yeah.
but I want to get granular into your reality and
Yeah.
talk about what happened when
Yeah.
you almost died.
Yeah. So this is what death is. It's a chemical release of DMT from your pineal gland. This happens when you're born. A huge burst of DMT floods your system. This happens when you dream at night, and it happens when you ultimately leave your body. It's a transcendental molecule that allows you to shift dimensions or reality to have a more expansive experience. So if you've ever dreamed, you've died. And everybody's had a dream. Everybody's been to sleep. Every time you do that, it's essentially a death. And what we can really say, in every moment, you're dying to a new version of yourself. In every single moment that you can possibly fraction down to a billionth of a second, constantly changing, constantly changing. It's just that you keep choosing and repeating similar patterns so you get a similar experience, but it's actually not. You can't step in the same river twice. The river is changing and you are changing simultaneously. So, with that being said, when we have an actual physical death experience, what you're doing is just taking everything that you've learned, imagine like a book of life that you've learned, and you are shredding it to pieces.
Yes.
And you're going, oh, I thought it was like this. And
Yes.
now I know more. In the same way, if you've never had an experience in anything, and then you have that experience, oh, I thought running a business was like this from the outside. Now I'm actually in the driver's seat and it's way different than I thought. Or marriage, or et cetera, playing an instrument, whatever.
Yeah.
So my experience was I did a DMT ceremonial experience with a shaman in Costa Rica.
Ayahuasca.
No, DMT. I smoked
Oh.
DMT.
Okay. Isn't ayahuasca, is it DMT come in ayahuasca too? Or I don't know. I feel like maybe
Yes.
it is. Yeah.
Yes. So the analogy is edibles versus smoking cannabis. Ayahuasca is like the edible version, so it goes through your digestive system. So it's like an 8 to 10 hour
Yeah.
experience that takes you through all this very dramatic stuff.
Yes. I've done it.
The
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So and DMT smoking the powdery substance is like the rocket ship version. It lasts 10 to 15 minutes, and it's instantaneous death if you take a large enough dosage, which I did. But I did a lot of preparation before that. I did a lot of research before that. I worked with people that knew what they were doing. I meditated for long periods. Like I really cleared my system out to have a really positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was my version of it. So that is the equivalent. It's the same exact thing to having a fatal car accident and you die and then come back. It's the exact same experience minus the car accident. What happens is before we die, you never feel pain. You never feel the death experience. If you get shot in the head or fall off a building or whatever, you never actually experience what we witness as super painful.
Mm-hmm.
That never actually happens. Before that happens, a huge release of DMT occurs and you're out. It's like turning off the video game or taking off the VR headset. And now you're like, oh man, that was wild. And you just reemerge back into who you really are, the 99% of you, which is non-physical energy, spirit, soul, source, God, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Who you really are. You expand back into that, and it's like waking up from a dream. You're like, man, that dream was really crazy. I really thought that was happening. Super, super realistic. And this is how dreams work, right? Like, if you had a nightmare last night where you're running away from a murderer, you wake up and we hook you up to medical equipment. Your body, your biology is responding as if was a murderer chasing you. You're breathing heavy, you're sweating, cortisol's up, all this kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So did it actually happen? Your body doesn't care, right? So your experience becomes your truth. So again, as we realize that our focusing, and this is what quantum mechanics and quantum physics our belief systems, we create that experience. We're so incredibly powerful. We are the divine. We're not disconnected. We're not separate. We're just an extension. We're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are that, we can create any experience, even the experience that we're not powerful.
It's like,
Any experience.
it's just like, it kind of makes your head explode a little bit because I feel like, you talk about how Albert Einstein said this, and, there's all these philosophers that are saying that this is a simulation. And yet in 2025, I would say, like, what is the majority of people on this planet right now that believe it's a simulation? Is it
It's
a
growing
small?
fast.
It's growing, but it's still
Oh,
a
yeah.
small number, right? Or do you think
Well, it
it's not?
depends on what you think small is. If you take
Yeah,
1% of 8 billion, 1% of 8 billion is a lot of people.
that's true.
I think it's actually closer to like 10, 15, or maybe even 20%. And here's what I've actually found is all these fringe topics, whatever you think is the most fringest taboo
Hmm.
fringe,
Yeah.
go to a bar in New Jersey or go to a bar in California or go travel and go get a beer with somebody. They're like, yeah, man, I had contact with aliens. Yeah, I had a near death experience. Yeah, I smoked this. I did that.
Yeah.
It's not, we're being fed a certain narrative
Right.
that we call a mainstream narrative. This is what is reality?
Yeah.
And who gets to decide what that is? The news?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I've been told so many times, don't go to this country, it's dangerous. And then I went to that country and I met the most amazing people of my life that treated me better than my real family.
Right.
I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah.
New Jersey is the most dangerous place on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. And yet, everybody in New Jersey is extremely amazing.
Right.
But if you watch the Jersey Shore show,
Hmm.
and you think everybody's like whoever those characters are,
Right.
which are they're playing a character,
Sure.
then you think everybody's like that. But how could that be? There's millions of people here,
Right.
and there's no such thing as an American, a Republican, a Democrat. Whatever label. Labels are limiting, but they can be useful if you do it loosely, just like you have a belief that's loosely. And what we're doing now is we're shifting from beliefs, which means I don't really know. I don't really know in my heart.
Mm.
I believe it, to knowing. What do I truly know? Let me hang. And this is what chaos, this is the benefit of chaos or perceived chaos or disorder, is now I really have to hang my hat on the things I hang my hat on. Now I really got to see, okay, well, how do I feel about this? What is going on over there with those people or this government or this? What do I really feel? What's really going on here, as opposed to just being a zombie going along marching, with the marching orders? And when you were 5 years old, you got this. When you were 5 years old, if I talk to a 5-year-old about all this stuff, they're like, yeah, this makes total sense. Of course, everything's magic.
Right.
There's a spaceship. There's a
Yeah,
this. There's
right.
that. I'm actually a princess, and
Everything's
I
magic.
live on right
Mm.
because that's the actual reality. They're actually more tuned in, and then we effectively beat it out of them. We're
Yes.
scared out of them.
I know.
And it's not that you can't teach people certain practical, grounded things, but you don't need to scare the crap out of them. And in fact, all of our science now shows if you want to learn something really fast, like a new language or quantum mechanics or anything,
Yeah.
make it as fun as possible, and your speed of learning increases by 400%.
Wow. That's a great
So you've
stat.
heard of, so you've heard of like the 10,000 hour rule?
No, tell me.
This is an old concept. It's in a lot of self-help books. Like if you practice something for 10,000
Oh.
hours, you master it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But if you do it in a really fun way, you divide that by 400%. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you increase your rate of learning if it's joyful.
Mm.
And again, what if you look at any of these studies or your life experience, just look at things you're really good at or that come naturally to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a generally positive, joyful association with that thing? Or do you have a generally negative association with that thing?
Mm-hmm.
And 10 times out of 10, you will find that, oh, I was naturally good at soccer because you loved it. You know, you were naturally good. You're naturally good at doing this podcast. You can tell you're great
Thank you.
and you'll probably have a great
I
time
love
doing
doing
it.
it. Yeah, so fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's it.
That's it.
That you can, if you walk away with nothing and, getting into the minutia is great. I love some good minutia,
Yeah, for sure.
but but really all you have to know is what you knew when you were 5. You're supposed to be having fun, you're supposed to be creating and playing, and everything else is just kind of small potatoes, and you can figure it out along the way. And you were built with everything, you came with everything, you came pre-packaged, not only with the stuff you need but with the stuff you will need as you progress. Just like a tree has everything it needs, and that little seed that grows into be that big thing, it has everything it's need, and nature, the universe, is providing all the other stuff if need be.
I love it. So
Yeah.
so help me for we're not 5 anymore. Now we're like in our 30s,
That's
we're in our
who.
40s. And we've collected all of this conditioning and we've collected these beliefs that we hold and believe to be true. And now if we're starting to like crack out of that shell
Yep.
and, for the sake of this podcast and like I'm all in. I'm all in. Like I don't necessarily need the quantum physics or the quantum mechanics to like
It's just fun.
it's just fun. But I know that some people are feeling like science based and can
Oh
you
yeah.
can you help me for a girl who studied television, radio, and film in college? Like
Right.
what the heck is quantum mechanics? Like what is quantum physics? I don't know. Like please help.
Okay, so if I was going to explain this to a 5-year-old, imagine a box,
Hmm.
okay? And imagine a ball inside of that box,
Okay.
right? Simple, a box with a ball.
Yep.
When you're not looking inside the box, you don't know where the ball is. As soon as you open the box and look in and you see the ball's there in whatever possible million types of positions it could be in. That's all quantum mechanics is really saying, and they're putting equations around that. It's the mathematical understanding of the nature of our reality, which is this flux state. So, in other words, is the ball? This is the old Schrodinger's cat thing. Is the cat alive or dead? Is the ball there? If I'm not observing something, is it truly actually there?
Right. I feel like I've heard this said like if a tree falls in a forest, it doesn't make a sound.
Right.
And like there's like a bunny there, like the bunny hears it, right?
If there is observation, there is experience.
Mm.
But the universe itself is aware and observing itself. So again, it really comes back to this idea of who cares? because 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 everybody's good that's listening to this will walk away with their own version of it.
Right.
And so now they'll go down that path of, well, I think that this is true. That guy with the long hair is a hippie. He's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's fine. To that person, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I'm a crazy person. And then somebody else will walk away and go, you know what? That guy's actually pretty cool. He's pretty brilliant. Let me go check out some of his stuff.
Yeah.
You will be right as well
Right.
because you're carrying that frequency. So it's really, and this is what I try to get people past, because we treat science like a religion. Science is the new religion.
Yes, totally.
And so that's what people treat, Marvel comic movies like religion.
I love a
You
Marvel
know,
movie. Yeah, for sure.
right? They'll have the pictures on the wall. They know all
Sure.
this theology and
Yes,
mythology,
totally.
and they live there. It doesn't matter because it's all everything is everything. So it's all spiritual. It's all you don't have to try to be spiritual. It already is.
Right.
You know, it's like it again. The all is in the one, and the one is in the all. The fourth thing is, and this is what I've been talking about. I've been sort of climbing up this ladder of the things that are actually true. There's only really four things. The fourth one is that whatever you put out is what you get back. Again, this idea of what you focus on actually becomes the truth. So again, if you go back to a certain time period, everybody thought the earth was flat. That's what was being said. That was allowed to be said. They had science to prove it. All the smartest people were saying that. And then somebody else came along and said, hey, you know what? I'm getting some different measurements here. I'm getting a little different pickup. I'm starting to think a little differently. I think the whole thing is actually not the way we thought it was. And then people either go, yeah, that's great, or let's kill him. Right?
Right.
This is the story of Jesus. This is the story of every religion.
Yeah, right.
Every religion is there's an established way, and then somebody comes along and says, no, I don't think so. I think it's like this.
Mm.
And the every religion, I don't care which religion it is or what you think it's good or bad, they're all saying buck the trend of the establishment and get into your own power, get into your own sovereignty, get into your own frequency, get into your own alignment, because that's all that truly matters. Otherwise, you're under the hypnosis or the illusion of someone else.
Mm.
And so, if you know this is illusion, the Hindu tradition calls it Maya, which translates to illusion. If you know you're in the illusion, why would I sign up for your illusion? And I may want you to get a certain experience.
Mm.
Oh, you know what? I really like your illusion. I think you have some great ideas. Blah blah blah. You know, you talk really well. You know, you seem confident. Whatever. But eventually, you're going to have a different idea, and this is what we call being a teenager. And this is why teenagers rebel,
Yeah.
because they're like, even in the Amish tradition, right? They have this idea called Rumspringer, where they they understand you need to go out and have your own unique experience of the world, so that you can choose the religion. And that's totally different than being indoctrinated or pressured or coerced or forced
Hmm.
or feared into something. So whatever you put out is what you get back. It's exactly always that. The universe is perfect. The universe doesn't judge. It's unconditional, unconditional love. It just says yes. You think you're fat? Sure. You think you're in shape? Sure. You think you're wealthy? Sure. You think you're poor? Sure. You think you're this? Great. The universe doesn't care. It's giving you full control, full authority, not through your mental 3D brain like you were taught to do, work really hard, go to school, get degrees, do all this stuff.
Mm.
If that lights you up, go for it. But that's just one path.
Hmm.
And there's infinite. So there's 8 billion whatever people on the planet, but there's even more ways than there are people. There's infinite ways. So any one person can do 20 different things in their lifetime. You might become an astronaut, a doctor, a stand-up comedian, a podcaster, or whatever. Like, there's really no limit other than the ones that you put on yourself. And and so the fifth thing is everything else changes. So besides the fact that you exist, you know, the all is in the one and the one is in the wall, in the all. Everything is here and now. What you put out is what you get back. Other than that, everything else changes. Everything evolves, you know, everything twists and turns, and money comes and money goes, and the weather's like this and the weather's like everything's moving, everything's giving you, otherwise you couldn't have experience.
Right.
Experience by definition is I saw it this way, and now in a moment's notice I see it this way. That's the illusion of time. It's our perception. We're perceiving like a movie. You're a filmmaker.
Hmm.
It back in the day they had film strips, which were actual pictures
Hmm.
that move really fast to give you the illusion of movement.
Hmm.
This is how reality works. Everything's already here and now. And as we move through our perspectives, it's like picture frames moving,
Hmm.
and the frame rate is what we call reality. And that's why it can seem like, man, today was really slow. It was just such a slow day. It felt like it lasted forever. Well, for you, it did.
Right.
And then you start doing something you really love, like having a great conversation. And
Yeah.
you're like, wow, 3 hours just
Oh
went
my
by.
gosh.
I thought it was
Totally.
5 minutes.
I know.
So you're changing your frame rate.
Yes.
And what's even cooler about that is because everything's a paradox or an infinity loop or a yin yang, everything is the other thing intertwined. As you slow down, we would describe that as getting present, which is what you do in a really good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We're fully present right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not thinking about what's for lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
We're here, we're now, we're being. As you slow down, everything speeds up. As you slow
Mm-hmm.
down, so you might, let's say we talk for 3 hours, it'll only feel like 10 minutes because we're really into it.
Mm-hmm.
You've only actually experienced 10 minutes in your biology. So you've only aged 10 minutes. Whereas everybody else has aged 3 hours if they are on that frequency. So this is how you can literally age in reverse. And my wife and I actually went viral in
Oh
2018
my
because
God.
the Daily Mail got one of our pictures. We did like a 10 years because we were together for 10 years, like before and after. This is how we started. This is how we are now kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it went viral. And we had no idea, like we woke up and the Daily Mail had posted us. We had no idea. And then all of a sudden we're on front page in like Russia and Chile and all over the world. And people are like, this couple's aging in reverse. When you're having fun, when you're in alignment, you age differently. And if you, so you have a chronological age and you have a biological age. Your chronological age is how much time you've spent, 38 years or whatever. But your biological age can be 20 or 15 or 25 or 30, depending on where you're personally vibrating.
Mm.
And so again, this just ties back into the what you're putting out is what you're getting back. And once people understand some of these things, first of all, it's really exciting. It's really exciting because now all of a sudden, maybe you have heard this, maybe you haven't heard this, but at least you feel a little bit more in power. You feel a little bit less like things are happening to you. And it's this journey that we go through from being a victim that we all feel in some kind of a way to realizing I was doing it.
Right. And people all often though don't want to be like, oh, all of these things that happen, like me getting run over by a car, for example, is like my fault. What do you say to people that are like, well, what do you mean? Like all these shitty things that are happening, like how can they be my fault?
Let's say everything I've said up to this point is complete BS
Yeah.
and not true. What would you prefer?
Right.
Do you want to be a victim? Go do it. I tell people all the time, I'm not here to change your beliefs.
Yeah.
People are in my comment section all the time. Well, this is completely bogus, or I don't believe you, or what about this going on?
Yeah.
I say, well, if once you understand that you're creating your reality, you will start to see yourself choosing different things.
Mm-hmm.
Another way you could say that is if you can truly tap into the frequency of unconditional love for yourself,
Mm.
what do you really need at that point? Or how would you see yourself acting?
Mm-hmm.
And you've really, and to even zoom out from that, allow people to go through their process. Again, if you think that things are a certain way, okay, go into that, but do it with your whole self. Most people are dabblers, they're staying on the surface of life.
Mm.
If you're at a job that you're sort of wishy washy about, I always tell people, and they're wanting to get out of it, before you quit your job or whatever, put 100% of what lights you up into the job first. Try that for a week and see if anything changes. You might have just not really been present there. And you forgot that you actually like certain aspects of it.
Mm.
And then I say, just turn the volume on up on those things. And then if that job is truly meant for you, it'll grow with you and it'll feel awesome. Or something else along will come better. Something better will come along.
Right.
I've seen this happen every single time when I work with somebody. They're like, yeah, I just got a raise out of nowhere. Or, I just got this incredible job offer when we're talking about finances and things like that. I've seen literal transformations in one phone call. Like literally, I get off the phone with somebody and they're like, hey, you know what? You won't believe what just happened. And I go, yeah, I do actually. Because nothing's actually fixed. And the amount of time something takes is only your belief system.
Mm.
Right now, today, you can have a totally different experience of life. Most people wake up and do the same thing they've been doing for however many years. Why? You don't have to do that. If you wake up and the first thing you do is what a lot of people do is they check their emails or something or
Mm-hmm.
check their, if does that light you up on a scale of 1 to 10? Does that light you up? Most people will probably say no. It's probably like a 2 or 3, whatever. Okay, well, what's a 5, 6, 7, or 8? Do that for 5 minutes. Go dance in your living room. Go for a jog. Whatever you want to do. Make it a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or why not a 10?
Mm-hmm.
And do that to start your day. Even if it's just sitting there and just looking at something nice or drinking your coffee in a slow fashion.
Oh my God. Dan, this is
This
so good. This is so good. Like I cannot rip the smile off my face because this is, I feel like what everyone needs to hear.
Yeah. And if anybody that's watching this, you've manifested this.
Yeah.
You're calling this into your experience.
Yeah.
You right now are calling this into
Yes.
your
Oh,
experience,
I'm
as
so
well as
glad you
me.
said yes to this. I was like, I need to like talk to you right now. I'm so
And you know what? The
happy.
truth is, I say no to a lot of people because it just doesn't feel right. It's like,
Yeah.
when people go on dates, if you're on like a dating app,
You're
you can
right.
just kind of feel if it's not there. But sometimes, and so what I tell people is, if it's not falling in your lap,
Mm.
it's not for you. If it doesn't feel calm, fun, easy, falling in your lap, you don't need it. And this breaks you out of that scarcity mindset. You don't need to stay in places you don't like. You don't need to do things in a way you don't like.
Mm.
That's just one way. And you've explored it already. Congratulations, you did it.
Yeah.
Now allow yourself to explore something different. Even if it looks like the exact same thing, bring a different quality. Bring a 5-year-old quality to it. Bring a playful quality to it. Bring a joking, lighten up.
Yes.
It's not that serious. And when you die, you're going to you're going to laugh at all of this. You're going
Right.
to laugh at all of this. You're going to be like, man, look how, because you're going to have a life review. You're going to see a lot of the things you did. It's not going to be painful to you. It's going to be like watching your favorite Netflix show where they're highlighting all the recapping so that you understand what happened there, so that you get more perspective. But you're going to be like, man, that guy was really serious. I can't believe I was doing it,
So
you
that's
know?
so when we die to get like into the details. So our body is left here and then where do we go? Like you said life
Well,
review. Tell us more.
yeah. So again, it depends on what you think. So
Yeah.
everybody's going to get their own unique version of it, but you're going to get some form of reflection, a life review. You're
Hmm.
going to see how you did. You're going to get some sort of recap on the game you just played. And because you came here to like experience and explore. Here's another thing I always share with people. This is a once in an experiential, universal lifetime, once in existence. This is once in existence. This moment right now will never happen exactly again like it is happening now. It's the most miraculous way to live your life.
So good.
Like you don't once people get even just 1% of that, it's like now whatever you're going to do, make it the best possible thing. If you only have access to a really cheap sandwich for lunch, make that the most magical sandwich of the day. Not because you're pretending that it's some fancy version of the sandwich, but because you're never going to get this again. Exactly like this again.
Mm.
You right now is a miracle in every sense of that word. And if you choose to focus on something going wrong, what you're saying is, I want to sign up for more going wrong. More going wrong, please. Can I have more going wrong, please?
Mm.
And the reason why we do this is to essentially crush us and break us down. We actually sign ourselves up to be broken down so that we can break through finally. Because the greatest feeling in the universe is going from one thing to another. We call that transformation. So that's what happens when you die. Your body doesn't leave or disappear, it transforms. It transforms into different kinds of energy, depending on how you die and what you want to do with your body afterwards and all this kind of stuff. But you're transforming. The energy that is you is transforming from one state to another. Just in the same way, if I put a pot of water on the stove, it's water and then it evaporates into something else.
Mm.
It didn't disappear, it transformed.
Hmm.
And the same thing is happening too. Your body's mostly water, right?
Hmm.
So you transform and you are constantly expanding too. The question is, in which way do you prefer to expand? Do you want to be the person running around calling out all the things that are going wrong, which is what you've been taught because we come from a 3D mindset, scarcity and survival. So our brain is literally wired for problems. So that's one level to operate from. Or you can go, oh yeah, I have this thing called a heart, which allows me to see beyond the so-called problem and gets into the soul solution, the
Mm.
solution.
Mm.
Otherwise, nobody would ever fall in love with anybody. Nobody would get together in any kind of a way
Mm.
because it's so easy to just pick people apart or pick things apart and break them down. But you're looking at a very small percentage of that. And when you zoom out, you see, oh, actually, those things that I thought were imperfect or wrong or bad actually make that dish so delicious. It's the imperfections that actually make that thing. It's like listening to an old vinyl record that has some impurities in it
Mm.
versus something really polished. Both are great, but there's something about that. There's some sort of humanistic soul that you just can't reproduce with a computer. You can mimic it, but you can't really get that thing. So, what does this all mean, and what's the purpose of it? It's about what's that thing that lights you up. Not because you have to get somewhere or figure out quantum mechanics or figure out how the universe works or figure out how to manifest $1 million. It's the journey or the process of that. Because guess what? Here's what happens. I work with so many different kinds of people, NFL Super Bowl champions, CEO, millionaires, high level performers, as well as everyday people and athletes that want to just do something or people that just want to lose weight, whatever, whatever. When you get to the thing, even if it's the $1 million lottery ticket, whatever you think is the top of the mountain, then that moment passes. And then it's Monday again.
Right.
And then you have to pay your phone bill. And then your mom still annoys you.
Right.
And then you're still not happy with your hair today.
Yeah.
And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can travel to Italy, but you're just going to be you in Italy now. Right? There's
Totally.
an old SNL sketch I think with Adam Sandler, where he's a guy from New Jersey selling tourism to Italy, and he's like basically making that joke. He's like, "Yeah, you can go to Italy, but you're still gonna be an asshole," and it goes to show that first of all, the universe has a huge sense of humor,
Yes.
and second of all, whatever you're being is what you're gonna get. It doesn't matter if you go to a fancy restaurant or a fancy hotel or if you're living on the street. I've met so many wise, incredible people on the street. One of my favorite things to do that my wife isn't necessarily crazy about is I love talking to all different kinds of people, especially people that are what most people would cast away.
Mm.
They are some of the most brilliant,
Mm.
talented,
Mm.
creative, insightful,
Yeah.
heartfelt, abundant.
Mm.
You wouldn't think if you go to a third world country, which is a ridiculous term, and talk to somebody who's living in a hut, which I've done, and think most people think that that's a bad idea, it's dangerous, or it's crazy. And I've met some of the most incredible people doing that seemingly had nothing and then all of a sudden prepared me a feast
Mm.
or inviting me over or giving me something or trying to help me in some kind of a way. And I'm going, no, it should be the other way around, right? Because
Mm.
I'm supposedly have everything. I'm a white guy from the United States. You know,
For
I'm
sure.
I'm I'm top of the food chain.
Yeah.
But no, there's no such thing as hierarchy. And so again, this all goes to show that there is no such thing as a president of your life, really. There's no such thing as a boss of your life, really. There's no such thing as a god of your life, really, that you should be giving your power away to. Again, all of these different religions and philosophies and things are saying, no, it's you.
Yes. I love that.
This is the gift. This
I
is the
love
gift.
that. Because I feel like also, from the ages of like 5 and 25, where like we end up being susceptible to all the conditioning and all of the beliefs that we're learning, we're
Right.
figuring out. And then I think what happens is some of us some days like is like we're like wake up.
Yes.
We like wake up and for me it really took being run over by a car and like my consciousness
Yeah.
flew out of my body. And so for me that experience like is literally expanding
Yeah.
outside of my body. So when you said that word, I was like, that's it. And then going back in, that doesn't happen to everybody, obviously, but I do think people like wake up and are like, oh, I really have been complaining about my job for the last year. Like, what am I still
Right.
doing here? And how do I
Right.
change it? What's the first thing to do to change it? So I loved like that practical advice that you gave of like putting everything into your job and seeing like what about like what would you say about like a relationship if there's like a relationship like that?
Well, first of all, realize that you're setting all of this up. So what you do for a living is a filmmaker, right? Or
Yes.
that's part of what you do.
Yep.
So you have an eye for storyline, you have an eye for plot,
Yep.
rising and falling
Mm-hmm.
action, dramatic experiences, shifting energy, all these different things that come with storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone like you, your personality, you need a movie-like experience. What's more movie-like than getting hit by a car and dying? Right? So
Yes.
that's the thing that was going to be your ticket to unlock that awakening.
Wow.
For somebody else, it might be cancer. For somebody else, it might be. For me, it was when my wife. We were dating at the time. She broke up with me, and I had never been as connected to someone up until that point, and that shattered me. It
Mm.
broke my heart in a way I didn't even know was possible. That was like my first real like awakening. And that led to so many things, so many domino effects. And it just tore me apart. And I had to, and at the job, I was stressed out. I was working 90 hours a week, trying to get my business up and running and making sure all that was going on. So I was stressed out. I was the classic stressed out American kind of person. But I was trying to figure it out, right? And everything just fell apart. Everything just fell apart in all possible ways. And it was the greatest gift
Mm.
because then I got to wipe the slate clean, truly, only to realize I never had to do all of that. But with my certain way of seeing and my certain kind of personality and the, the way I was raised and all this kind of stuff, I created the best possible scenario for me to knock the walls down and realize it's all just a phony set that I get to do whatever I want. So everybody's getting their own version of that if that's what they came here to do. Some people just came here to kind of go through the motions and just not really pay attention to much stuff and just kind of go to work and just kind of, this and that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But other people, more and more people, are here to go, wait a minute. I think we've got this all backwards. I think it was, there's much more to the story. What's going on over here? And it's a time of awakening. And you can see that since I was a kid, especially, a lot less people are going along with the program. And it manifests in very unique ways. Not everybody's going to do the exact same thing. But undoubtedly, and this is what prophecies have told for thousands of years, this is the time of that transition. Just in the same way, around 7:30ish tonight, the sun's going to set. Right? We start to see a pattern emerge. So ancient cultures were able to see these patterns and they were connected in a different way than we were because they just had a different mindset. They had a different perspective. They were in a different frequency. And so they realized that there's these cycles. So we're coming out of this darkness, you can say, a sleep cycle, just in the same way when dawn breaks, it's like, oh yeah, I think it's going to get sunny today because the sun's coming up. That's what we're in. We're in this golden age, but we're transitioning from sleep to awake. And sometimes it's hard to wake up in the morning. And you don't really want to. You're like, I just want a couple more minutes. I just want to sleep a little bit more.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing. And people, it's like the sun's coming in through the window and you're like, oh man, it's time to wake up already. Like, I don't know if I'm ready. It seems kind of hard.
Yes.
But then once you get out in the sun, you're like, oh man, it's beautiful. I love this. I feel
Yes.
energized. I want to
Right.
do this. I want to do
It
that. I
feels
want to go
good.
play. I want to go see
Yes.
my friends and all this other kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh. This is all so good. I'm curious because we've touched on, that we're transitioning after we die. And
Yes.
then do you believe we come back and do it again? We come back to the
If you want.
simulation?
It's all choice.
That's
It's all
choice. I
choice.
know. Okay.
So,
You
if you want to,
what do you choose to believe or what do you
well, when
know?
I had my death experience,
Yes.
so you take DMT,
Mm-hmm.
you smoke it like you would smoke marijuana,
Yep.
and if you can get to 3 pulls, because it happens so fast, so really on the first pull you feel it like instantaneously. If you can get to 3 pulls, that's considered the out of reality experience. I was able to do that real quick. I was shot out of reality. I had a conversation with God, the universe. It was like the most ecstatic, euphoric experience of all time. And at the end of this experience, which so many things happen, um, I was given a choice. Do you want to go back into this physical body as Dan, or do you want to continue into non-physical and into all the other things that you could possibly do? It was very matter of fact. It's like, you want to go left or right? And I was like, well, I'm in Costa Rica right now, which is like my favorite place on the planet. It's a gorgeous place. I'm with my soon-to-be wife at the time. I'm having so much fun. I was like, I'm having a lot of fun. I kind of want to be here. Like, this is so much fun. Like, I'm living my life to the fullest right now. So I chose to go back. And what I was later told in like meditations, because this continues to unfold. It's not like a one and done.
Right.
This is a seed that grows into much, much more stuff,
Totally.
as is life. Um, I was told that we've all been given these choices so many times to come back. And if you were here, you've chosen it. So that's the other thing I always try to communicate to people when they're telling me their life is so bad. I get it. I get there's so-called struggles and challenges, but you chose this. You actually did. You actually wanted this experience because again, the most uplifting and positive experience that you could imagine is going from thinking you can't do something to then doing that thing. And so you're choosing it, and you're choosing it, and you're choosing it. And people can't imagine that. Why would I want to choose trauma? Why would I try to choose this? Because it's not actually real in the sense of you can be damaged. It's just an experience. In the same way you cry over the movie character that's having the traumatic experience, but then you realize, oh, this is an actor acting who's conveying a really deep emotional thing.
Oh my gosh.
That zoom out, the same thing that happens. This is a movie that you're creating. You're directing, you're writing, you're starring, you're doing all of the things that you could possibly do. And once you start to get a little taste of that through simple practices, like we discussed earlier, put more of yourself into it. Do things that light you up. Take 5 minutes out of your day as early as possible and just breathe or do anything that feels good. And notice how that sets a different trajectory in your day. Do it for 7 days, watch your life change. Do it for 21 days, you're in a totally different reality. Do it for 90 days. Now nobody will recognize you.
Oh my gosh. I love it. It's like it's what we're seeing now on social media is like main character energy. It's like it's the
Yeah,
idea that we are supposed to, take care of ourselves first. So,
I write about that in my book. There's a
yes,
chapter called Main Character.
main character. Yes, it's so good. Cuz you also say minding our own business serves us the most. But but
Yes.
what is celebrated in society also is like looking out for someone else, like looking out for, let's just say, immigrants at the border, for example, like people that need safety to come here. Like, should we not be helping them, or we should be putting ourselves first, or like, what should we be doing?
The most helpful thing you could ever do for everything in the entire universe, including yourself, is to be in your highest vibration, to be in your alignment. That's the only time you have any power anyway.
Mm.
When you're fighting against something, you give all of your power away and you essentially become useless. So if you really want to help anybody, which actually isn't true, it's impossible to do. And after 19 years of coaching people, this is what I've realized. I've never
But you're
helped
helping
anybody
people.
really.
I know you're saying
No,
you didn't do it. Tell me,
no,
tell.
no. What I'm doing is reminding people that they do it themselves.
Right.
I don't put the food in your mouth. I don't get you on the computer to type up your book. I don't get you to do anything. You decide you want to do these things in a joyful kind of a way. And once you get into that framework, then you can literally change reality, including other people if they want to come on board with it. Because if you don't do this, then what you're saying is those people are powerless. I have God within me, but they don't.
Mm.
I'm powerful, but they're not, which is a fundamental lie. People are just like I was explaining, the so-called poor person.
Mm-hmm.
We look down on people unknowingly, and we look up to people unknowingly.
Mm.
These are both lies, and they're both the same side. They're two sides of the same coin. They're incorrect perspectives that you've been taught that place you at a lower level of self-worth within yourself. So
Yes.
if you truly want to help people, see yourself as God and everyone else, because that's true. That's the highest truth.
Mm.
You are already the divine. So you don't need to fight against anything. I posted a video yesterday. You can either be against stuff or you can be with stuff. If you want to be the most helpful person you can be, focus on the things you're with. And you'll see not only will your life dramatically improve for the better, anybody that comes in contact with you, their life will improve too for the better. And it never fails. Anybody I've ever worked with over my 19-year career, I've had a 100% success rate. Not because I'm special or because I know something that nobody else knows. I simply remind people of who they truly are, which is not a human being, but a soul having a human experience,
Mm.
God having a human experience. And once you just get a whiff of that and practice that a little bit in your life, just play with it in your head. Don't even tell anybody. Just play with that idea in your head. See yourself as God and everybody else too, whatever that means to you, and see how your day goes. See how your so-called challenges go. See how your next meal goes. And keep reminding yourself because you're going to forget,
Mm-hmm.
especially if this is a new concept. And see how your body reacts. Notice how your breathing changes. Measure your heart rate throughout the day. Notice how you feel when you're not feeling like that and then when you do feel like that. Everything in your body aligns with perfect health. Everything in your body aligns with abundance. Everything in your body aligns with your highest path. You become more creative. Your IQ literally improves.
Mm.
It's not, it is magic because we live in magic, but it's not something that's outside of you.
It's an inside job.
Yeah, there's nothing out there actually, and this is also what quantum physics and is showing us. The non-local uh, reality isn't real. It's not really out there.
It's wild. I like the quantum physics stuff. I'm like makes my brain explode. I like don't get it, but I believe you.
But here's, but well, you don't have to believe me. And I always tell people, don't believe me,
Yeah.
because I don't. Belief is not great currency.
Right.
Knowing is great currency. Life
Mm.
experience is great currency. So go off your life experience. And this is why I have a 100% success rate. Because if somebody's dealing on a certain level, I'm like, look, you don't get certain things. And unless you want to come on board with your experience, I can only work with you from your experience. So if you're not willing to like really be open about that, then there's
Mm.
nowhere to go because you're
Mm.
playing in a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help you if you want to lie.
Right.
You have to come to the table honestly. And that's how relationships work.
Mm-hmm.
That's why me and my wife have such a great relationship
Mm-hmm.
and why we were able to reconnect after she broke up with me. It randomly happened a year and a half later. We weren't trying to do this. We just happened to transform. I had an awakening. She had her own awakening in a totally different way. And then we came back together and we're like, whoa, we're two totally different people. And we somehow love each other way more than ever before. And it just naturally grew into what it is now. So stop trying, stop efforting, stop manipulating, stop trying to turn all the knobs out there. You're playing with a lie and you're manipulating the lie to try to get a certain result and it never works out.
Mm.
And you've been doing this your whole life. That's why you're frustrated. That's why you're unhappy. That's why your health is suffering. That's why your finances are suffering, et cetera, et cetera. Change the story. Just start changing the story. Just in your own head. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell your wife or your husband. Just start being happy essentially for no reason. And people go, well, I need a reason to be happy. And then I'll take them through a little exercise. If you want to do it, you can do it right
Let's
now.
do it.
Imagine have you ever been on vacation or have you ever visited a place that you really enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine it in your mind?
I can.
Now, did you just notice you got a little happier?
Mm-hmm.
You just did it. You
Yes.
just changed your reality.
Mm.
It's that simple. And you're doing it all the time. But we get taught that imagining and daydreaming is wrong or it's not useful. But here's my offering to you. Doing 5 to 15 minutes of positive daydreaming or just anything that makes you feel better
Mm-hmm.
is more valuable than 16 hours of labor.
That's wild.
Yeah. And don't take my word for it. Go practice it. Go
Mm.
see for yourself.
Mm.
Go try it out. And this is my coaching process. We talk about stuff. I get to the root of people's beliefs,
Mm.
and then we go, okay, well let's play with that a little bit. Let's go practice this little 5 minute thing. Go do it out in the real world. Go do it with your mom. Go do it with the people that are, against you or whatever we decide is appropriate. And then come back and tell me how it went. And then we build on that. And people are like, I don't know what's going on here, but everything in my life is changing. And then it freaks them out because everything's changing so positively and they're not used to that. So you literally have to get used to thriving, which is a
Yes.
wild thing to say. But when you look at some of the statistics, people that win the lottery, roughly like 40 to 50% of them are wind up in worse financial condition afterwards.
I didn't know
So you
that.
may think you so you may think you want the big win, but it could ruin your life.
Right, right, right. Oh my
So
gosh.
the best practice is always just to be here now and realize that you have everything already and get out of this desperation for wanting all of these things and then just let everything come to you. The best things will come to you when you relax, when you're happy, when you're going for a walk, when you're not trying to do anything. That's how nature operates. That's how the universe operates. It already is everything, and so are you. So, what do you really need? Nothing. So, just go have fun.
Dan, and this is so fun. Like I could literally talk to you all day, every day. What are tools that you use? Like, what are you doing in the morning? Are you meditating every day? Are you taking walks? Are you breathing? What are you doing?
I Yeah, so I wrote a book all about this. It's called The Seven Laws of Wellness.
Mm-hmm.
They're really simple things. Breathing, drinking water, moving your body for at least 20 minutes a day, eating foods that you consider to be good for you, because everybody has their own version of that, and whatever you believe is true is true. You need some sort of silence or meditation. You need some sort of rest as well as sleep. Not just sleep, but also rest. Breaks non-thinking activities, basically, and joy. But it really all funnels into one thing, which is happiness or joy. That's really the only tool. As soon as you get into alignment, you don't need anything. So everything's just a tool to get you to alignment. And so if you just understand that simple thing, well, then you just simply go in any moment of any day, no matter what's going on, positive or negative. Do I want to feel good or do I not? Do I want to think positively or do I want to think negatively? Do I want to do the thing that would make me feel even just 1% better, or do I want to continue beating my head up against the wall? And even if you win $1 billion right now, you're still going to have to do that. Even if World War III breaks out right now, you're still going to have to do that. That's the game. The game is, what do I choose? That's really the only thing going on here. And you know by your internal guidance system. Your internal guidance system is, this doesn't feel good or this feels good. But you have to get to know yourself through life experience. Because a lot of people think, oh, when I do this, it feels really good. And then I talk to them about it a little bit more. And then they go, actually, you know what? It doesn't feel that good. Right? You think the stable job feels good, but you actually are being crushed by it.
Totally. Oh my God. It
And
makes
then you're
it,
like,
yes.
I don't understand why the doctor says I'm getting this diagnosis. Well, it's because you're crushing yourself and you think it's good. So
So good.
expanding out and really being honest with yourself.
Oh my gosh. Dan, you are amazing. Thank you
I'm a
so
reflection
much.
of you.
Thank you so much. This is so, so, so fun. You'll have to come back, and
Let's do it again.
thank you so much. How did this episode land with you? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for listening and loving on this podcast. It would be so great if you would subscribe on YouTube, follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, rate and leave a review wherever you listen. You can also join the community at thewooreportpodcast.com. And when you sign up for the mailing list, you'll get a free download of the Woo Report's favorite things. These are the spiritual practices, books, follows, tools that I return to again and again. And I hope they support you too. Thank you for liking, rating, sharing, and loving on this podcast. So grateful you're here. Bye.